What's up, everybody? I just wanted to come by and do a quick video of what we may be seeing this week. As you can see, I'm doing this video a little different. I have my headset now, so I can do some audio and speak about what I'm talking about, and then record the screen. Glorious applications and platforms allow us to do that, like Streamlabs. I am very new, very much a rookie, and getting into the whim of things. But as we move along and as more equipment comes in, I am going to try to pin this down and get better at it to provide something a little more pleasurable to the ears and the eyes. But like I said, work in progress, so work with me. But anyway, as you can see on Earnings Whispers, great page I follow on Twitter to stay up to date on and up to speed on who and what and where will be reported as far as earnings during the weeks. As you can see, we do have kind of a light week in regards to the amount, but a heavy, heavy week in regards to the big banks and the finance sector. So we'll talk about that, and we're going to talk about some meme stocks and where we are and what I see there. So, before I go any farther, as always, investing and trading involves risk, and it is up to you to maintain a level of risk management that works for you and your budget. I am not a financial advisor, and I will not tell you when or where to sell or buy any securities. Any content viewed on my page will be solely intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Right, so, like I said, we have finance, BlackRock, JP Morgan, Citi, Goldman, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley. Very big, very big, very big banks. These are the types of banks and the types of um, corporations that are going to have a stronger hold on a lot of the market as well. So we need to keep these types of things in mind. As we know, the market is going to go up, down, or to the right. We can view how things have been beforehand, but it's not necessarily a gauge on exactly where it's going to go. But it is good to just give ourselves an idea of an anticipation of where things might be. Okay, so BlackRock, they're all BlackRock, Wells Fargo, they're all of them. All of these finance and all of these big banks are seeming to test historical levels. They're doing it on the daily as well as 4 hour. So as you can see, I think BlackRock has the biggest push in regards to it trying to stay above things. Maybe, I believe it was. Yes, it was. It was just BlackRock. But anyway, what I'm talking about is the fact that it's kind of at the 200 moving average. As you can see, all the rest of these guys are under, 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 shitty, under, Wells Fargo under. I I personally think that it's probably going to continue bearish, but before we just straight up say, hey, we're bearish, I wanted to point out historical patterns in regards to earnings. So, earnings for PNC back in January, as you can see, there was kind of a push up to that date. That earnings date, we were overbought on the daily, and it decided to drop back down. This could be reactions to earnings. As you might know, a lot of companies when they report earnings, whether it be good or bad, positive EPS or not, or positive EBITDA, whatever it may be, you still get price action that doesn't correlate to the news. We don't always know exactly when that's going to happen, but when you see something on the daily chart at a 70 RSI, you kind of have to expect for it to take a little bit of a breather. Um, Notice what I'm saying by that because that's kind of going to be a pattern in almost all of the stocks that we talk about today and all of the ones that we'll be looking at throughout the week, including meme stocks. But more importantly is when these conditions are there, notice how we reacted. So earnings and overbought, it's kind of inevitable. So back in the previous earnings, that's what happened. The earnings before that, That's kind of the same thing, but the bullish activity happened post. It was a post earnings release that it actually got its move, but once again, RSI overbought. We were at a 74 and it eventually took this bearish move. This looks a lot more calculated of a move there, guys. Market making a little harsh there. Okay. But anyway, that's what it did though. You know, it had that move post earnings, overbought, then it retreated back down to this 50. So these moving averages, historical support ranges, and all of these things are going to come into play. So what I am anticipating based on 4 hours sentiment as well is we may get some pushes up to earnings, but I do not see them sustaining based on where they're at. Because if this does get a push and it breaks over that 50 and PNC tries to touch and test the 200 moving average again, that might be overbought conditions again. So it might trail. So we'll see. Just just watch them. Just know the dates that they're reporting. You know, Wednesday, Thursday. Wednesday, Thursday is big. Now, also too, Fridays, we already kind of know how the market reacts to Fridays, especially in the morning. So these being post earnings and a Friday, I don't know. We'll see how much it's going to be able to sustain any gains if it does see them. Vice versa, if it gets beat down into this, it might try to settle. So either or, I'm going to be looking at what it's going to be doing. But if I do see any bullish moves on any of these things moving up into their earnings date, I might be a little more convinced of the bearish action following earnings. So we'll see. But like I said, a lot of these are historical patterns. BlackRock is pretty much the only one that's trying to stay above the 200 on the 4 hour. Otherwise, all these guys are looking like they might want to try to push, but then it might get rejected like old Wells Fargo did right here. So that's pretty intense. And that probably happened quick. So just be aware of any of that. But like I said, moral of the story with banks in regards to how they have treated earnings prior and post, it it tests these moving average, sell off after earnings, sell off after earnings, sell off after earnings. Also, being our TA sentiment and the daily, we're trading under, and we just had a death cross right here. So we haven't seen this moving average cross in a very long time. November of 2020 was the last time the 50 was under the 200 moving average for PNC. So we take those types of things into consideration. We'll see. Okay, that's your banks. Now, let's talk about some meme stocks. Let's start with IWM because obviously IWM is going to be one of our ETFs that packages most of these stocks, AMC and others in particular. But as you can see, this variation of a new trend, we've kind of been respecting it. We are trading under the 50, but they desecrated us on these days, as you know. You'll see that in the other charts. But from our 4 hour perspective, from the video that we made a while ago, when they were trying to push above this area, we broke over, but once again, we were in overbought conditions. I wanted to see a little more of a cool off. This is an extreme version of it because I anticipated a little more strength holding above this 50 moving average as well as this trend line and even our 200. Now this is the IWM view. As you see for GameStop, same situation, that 4th to the 8th, this whole area where we got shorted really bad, pointed that out in a previous YouTube video, go check it out. But we had gotten that bullish move, and then we were here. By this area already, as you can see, when we were trying to test this historical level, we were already in an overbought condition. So generally, you want to see a cool off. You do want to see it back down here. You do want to see a MACD curling. In this exact way? No, because also this is including the double halt day on the 29th when AMC and GameStop both halted simultaneously because they were about to continue doing this. So it's hard to sustain things when you're overbought like this. AMC, same thing. I wanted to see these levels and I wanted to see a cool off from this area. Obviously, halt tested that 34, crazy range from 26 to 34, inorganic completely. But once again, on the TA and technical side, we were way up here, 84 RSI, 89s, you know, and even right here, when we were in this range, in this price range, we were an 86 RSI. So it's difficult to say that we're going to sustain bullish levels when we are in these areas. Like I mentioned, I wanted to see a cool off and a pullback, but I was eyeing that 24 range. As you can see, we tested it, but they broke us under. My next thing I was looking at, 50 moving average. As you can see, we tested it. These wicks staying above it and trying to stay above, they eventually broke us. We broke under that 50, so then I was looking at this 2036. Once again, 2036 was the June high, or the January high of 21. Once again, wick, 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 testing it. Tried to stay above it, but they broke us down on the 7th. Following pattern that I would be looking at would be this ascending trend line that we started to form here. As you can see, wick, wick, wick. We tried to stay above it. So that's strength, but we got shorted down. And then same thing into this 200, wick. But the following 4 hours, they dropped us right under it. So I wanted to see a cool off. Did I expect it to come all the way down to here and happen this way? No, because we know the malarkey that happened this day. We don't know exactly what happened and how or why, but we know it happened. So we are once again in oversold conditions. This is prime buy time, generally. And I say that because we're at that 200. We're trying to stay above it. We're oversold. This MACD is not really convincing just yet. The volume, we'll see. So I'm not 100% sure where it's going to go, but what I do know is we got the cool off, just not how we wanted it. So these are the levels that I'm looking at. These are going to be, we got a few things to break and continue. I'd like to see some consolidation and a little more hug and staying at this 200 moving average because there are still ranges that, as you can see, kind of acting as support in this area, all the way down to the $15 range. I don't want to be in the $15 range, but by golly, if we are, thank you for the discount. All right, so MULN, I am excited to see this. This was the historical trend that we were in. It was respecting that 50 on its way up, but once again, we were kind of overbought in this area, so I wanted to see a cool off. This happened a little more in an extreme measure, got a bounce, went back up, tried to test it again, but it kind of started to form this. Um, it's not really a pennant, I guess, but kind of like in a wedge. Still a little more symmetrical and neutral, so I can't really call it a bullish or a bearish. But I do like the fact that on the 4-hour we're hugging this trend line, and the 50 seems to be wanting to tick up. Now, MULN is also potentially waiting some news about this Fortune 500 company that the CEO talked about having a mass order of electric fans. So we shall see. We're kind of waiting for that news. That range that I'm looking at, though, which I don't expect it to come down here, is 180 to about 267. Like I said, I feel like it's going to try to hug this trend line a little more, so I do expect some fun things there. BBIG, same sitch. We are in this area from this drop off of this bear flag on this 4 hour. Once we caught and we went back up, we've been staying in this Fibonacci range. So right now we're currently at the 38.2. As you see, it's the 265 range, just at the 200 moving average. Our body is right on it. So who knows? We could see a continuation back up to this 288. But this is a very interesting range from 265 to 288 that I will be looking at. We have left oversold conditions. MACD looks like it wants to try to converge, but we shall see. But those are the ranges that I'm looking at. Obviously still bullish, but we'll see. Last one I wanted to talk about was HYMC. HYMC is still kind of in this ascending trend, as you can see, and just like MULN, it is trying to hug our 50 moving average. We also just came off of an area where we were overbought. Right up here, we were at an 84 RSI. So in this $312, $315 range after we tested and went all the way up to 342, we were in this condition, so all in all likelihood, you were probably going to see a cool off. And the way that it's respected the 50 moving average, I expected it to come back too, and it did. So I do like the MACD flip. I do like the RSI is bouncing back into this bullish pattern and staying above. I do like the fact that our candle is trying to stay at this 50. Obviously anything can happen, up, down, right, but just notice the trends. Notice the trends. So if we do end up following that, we're good. Actually, one more ticker because of that, I needed to point out gold. Gold is actually looking pretty strong. So it is getting some support off of this range. Although this is crossed in, it seems like it is trying to test this area and break out above to retest potentially an area of 183 to 180, yeah, 183 to about 182, 50, 60 range. So we'll see what gold does. So associations, when oil moves, you play oil. When energy moves, you play energy. When gold moves, you play gold. When tech moves, you play it. When EV moves, you take those positions. When weed is moving, you take those. So just be smart, go with your trends, go with your flows. Don't go against any of this stuff. Just pay attention to where we were at. Same thing with SPY. My 4 hour, I mentioned it in a tweet. I'm looking at that 452 to 440 range. Don't know exactly where we're going to go. I personally feel like it's going to want to test this 200 again. So we shall see. Eyes on the prize, though. We are in good areas in some of the memes that we were talking about. Like I said, we finally got to these oversold areas again. So we got to touch these oversold, got to touch oversold, almost oversold for HYMC, but AMC definitely oversold. GameStop about to be getting oversold. So GameStop kind of the same thing. We'll see. All right, guys. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to make a video like this so you can see what I'm seeing and I can explain it a little more thoroughly as I am looking at it myself. So I hope you guys have a great weekend or the great rest of your weekend, and we will see you tomorrow to kill it in the market.